Sister told my date I'm high maintenance. Date laughed because I paid for everything and fix his car. I'm sitting in the passenger seat of Noah's car outside the little ramen place. The kind with fogged-up windows and a neon sign that makes everyone look slightly sick, and my stomach is still warm from broth when he turns his phone toward me with this half-confused, half-amused look. The screen is open to a message request, and I can see my sister's name at the top before my brain even catches up. My throat goes tight like I swallowed a pill wrong. Noah's thumb hovers over the chat bubble like he's not sure if he should laugh or apologize for reading it. He says, "Is your sister okay?" And I can already feel heat crawling up my neck because I know my sister. I know that tone. I know what she's trying to do before I even read the words. He scrolls just enough for me to see it clearly. "Just a heads up," my sister wrote. "She's really high maintenance. Like, don't say I didn't warn you. She expects guys to pay for everything, and she's a lot. Good luck, though." I stare at it so hard it blurs, and my hands do this stupid thing where they go cold while my face gets hot. I can hear the restaurant door opening and closing behind us, laughter spilling out, the city noise doing what it always does, completely indifferent to the way my chest is suddenly thumping. I managed to get out. "She messaged you," like it's the most shocking part, even though the truly shocking part is that she had the nerve. Noah looks from the phone to me, then back, and something in his expression shifts, like he's deciding which version of this story he's in. Then he lets out one short laugh, not cruel, more like disbelief, and says, "High maintenance? You literally paid for dinner and fixed my car." It's hard to explain what it feels like when someone tries to poison a room you're standing in. Like you can't see it, but you can smell it, and you're suddenly aware of every person who might walk in and breathe it in and decide you're the problem. My first instinct is to snatch the phone and fling it across the parking lot, or call my sister and scream until my voice breaks. My second instinct is the older one, the one I've had since we were kids. Swallow it, smooth it over, make it less embarrassing for everyone. I stare down at my lap, where my hands are clenched into fists, and I can feel my nails pressing into my palms. Noah is watching me carefully, like he's waiting for me to tell him whether this is normal, whether my family is a minefield he just wandered into. The air inside the car feels smaller. I can still taste garlic on my tongue. Outside, someone honks, and it sounds aggressive, like punctuation. I take a breath, then another, and I hear myself say, very flat, "She does this." It was a Tuesday night when I met Noah, which feels important because Tuesdays are boring. Nothing dramatic is supposed to happen on a Tuesday. I'd gotten off work late, grease under my nails, hair in a messy bun. My shirt smelling faintly like brake cleaner because I'd spent the afternoon wrestling a stubborn belt on a customer Subaru. I'm not an actual mechanic by title anymore, but I grew up in my uncle's shop and I still do a lot of side work for friends and coworkers. I told myself I was going to go home, shower, eat cereal, and pass out. Instead, my friend Talia begged me to come to a small trivia night at her cousin's bar because there are normal men there, which is the saddest sales pitch in the world but somehow worked. Noah was on the other team, and he laughed at the same dumb question I laughed at, and when he talked to me, he didn't do that thing where he stared at my mouth like he was waiting for his turn to speak. He asked about my day like he actually wanted to know, and when I told him I worked around cars, he didn't make a joke about me changing his oil. That alone felt like a miracle. We ended up talking for 2 hours. It wasn't fireworks. It was easy, like I could breathe. When he asked for my number, I didn't do the whole performative maybe thing. I just gave it to him because why would I pretend I wasn't interested? He texted me later that night to make sure I got home safe, which is basic but still. Over the next week, we traded small, normal messages. Memes, how's your day? The kind of stuff that isn't dramatic enough to tell your friends about, but is exactly what you want when you're tired of chaos. Then came the part where I made the mistake of telling my sister. My sister, Kara, is 3 years older than me, and she's the kind of person who can make any room feel like it revolves around her without technically doing anything. She has this way of laughing at your story before you finish it, as if she already knows the punchline, and it's you. Growing up, she was the pretty one, the loud one, the one who could cry on command and make my parents panic. I was the kid who stayed out of trouble, got decent grades, learned how to fix things because nobody else would. Kara learned how to be helpless in a way that got rewarded. If I needed something, I'd figure it out. If Kara needed something, she'd sigh dramatically and wait for someone to offer. As adults, you'd think that dynamic would fade, but it just evolved. Kara's version of helpless became overwhelmed. She was always overwhelmed. Overwhelmed at work, overwhelmed by bills, overwhelmed by her relationships, overwhelmed by the fact that life expects you to show up. And my parents, especially my mom, still responded to Kara's overwhelm like it was an emergency. Kara would call them crying about rent, and somehow there was always money. I mentioned my car needed new tires, and my dad would shrug and tell me to budget better. It wasn't that they didn't love me. It was that they trusted me to handle it, which sounds like a compliment until you realize it's an excuse to neglect you. Kara also had this habit of labeling me high maintenance whenever I had a boundary. If I didn't want to lend her my car for the weekend, I was selfish. If I didn't want to babysit her dog at the last minute, I was dramatic. If I didn't want to date men who treated me like an afterthought, I was picky. "You're going to end up alone," she'd say, smiling like she was doing me a favor. Men don't like a girl who thinks she's too good for them. I'm not too good for anyone. I just don't want to be miserable. That's the whole bar. And somehow, in my family, that makes me a diva. So when Kara asked over Sunday lunch, "Anyone new?" and I said casually, "Actually, yeah, I met someone," I watch her eyes sharpen like I toss a treat, and she was deciding whether to bite. "Oh," she said, dragging the word out. "What's his deal?" I told her his name, that he seemed kind, that we were going on a date soon. I didn't say, "Please don't ruin this," because I didn't think I had to. I was wrong. The first date with Noah was supposed to be simple. Ramen, a walk, maybe dessert. I offered to pick him up because he lived close and I didn't want him to deal with parking downtown. He insisted on driving, which was fine, until his car made this unhappy grinding noise when he tried to start it in his driveway. He looked embarrassed, like he thought a car problem in front of a new date was a personal failing. I watched him try twice, then I said, "Pop the hood," out of instinct like I was back at the shop. He blinked at me. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I said, "unless you want to Uber and leave it." He hesitated, then pulled the hood release. Under the hood, it was obvious. The battery terminals were corroded, and one of the clamps was loose enough to wiggle with my fingers. I didn't need a dramatic montage. I just needed a wrench and 5 minutes. Noah stood next to me, holding a flashlight like an eager assistant while I tightened things and cleaned the terminals with a little kit I keep in my trunk, because I am that person. When the car started afterward, he looked at me like I'd performed sorcery. "I can't believe you just did that," he said. I shrugged. "It's not a big deal." He smiled, and I saw this flicker of admiration that felt different than the usual, "Wow, you're not like other girls" nonsense. He just looked impressed. Like competence was attractive, not threatening. At dinner, he tried to pay, and I said, "I've got it," because I genuinely did. Not because I was trying to prove something. I am financially comfortable. I work hard. I save. I don't spend money to impress anyone. Also, I'm tired of dates where a man pays and then acts like you owe him gratitude on a payment plan. Noah didn't argue. He just said, "Okay, thank you." And then later he paid for dessert without making it weird. It felt balanced. It felt adult, which is why the message from Kara in Noah's phone made me want to crawl out of my skin. Because it wasn't just rude. It was an attempt to rewrite me, to plant a story in his head where I'm some gold-digging princess who expects to be worshipped. And the most humiliating part was that she'd done it behind my back, like she knew she couldn't say it to my face without me calling it out. In the car outside the ramen place, Noah waited while I stared at the message. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Finally, I said, "I'm sorry. She shouldn't have done that." He shook his head. "You don't have to apologize for her," he said. "I just don't get it. Why would she message me at all?" I laughed once, but it came out brittle. "Because she thinks she's helping," I said. "Or because she thinks it's funny. Or because she can't stand the idea of me being happy unless she's involved." Noah's eyebrows pulled together. "Is she, like, jealous?" The word jealous felt too simple, like calling a hurricane windy. Kara wasn't jealous in a cartoon way. She didn't want my exact life. She wanted the feeling of being the center. And if I had something she didn't control, attention, happiness, peace. It threatened her role in the family story where she's the main character and I'm the supporting cast. I don't know, I said, because saying yes felt like admitting something sad about my own sister. She just does this thing where she frames me as difficult so she doesn't have to look at her own mess. Noah looked down at the phone again, then back at me. Do you want me to respond? He asked. I imagined Noah typing something polite that would make Kara feel validated. Or worse, Noah ignoring it and Kara later twisting that into, see? He didn't even deny it. I felt a cold clarity settle in my stomach. This wasn't about Noah. This was about me deciding whether I was going to keep letting Kara narrate my life. Yeah, I said slowly. Actually, I do. Noah handed me the phone. My hands were shaking a little, which annoyed me because I hate when my body shows fear before I've decided to be afraid. I typed, deleted, typed again. I didn't want to write a novel. I didn't want to beg. I wanted to be clean and direct. I wrote, Hey Kara, this is really inappropriate. If you have concerns about me, talk to me. Don't contact people I'm dating to warn them. Please don't do this again. I paused, then added, Also, I paid for dinner tonight and fixed Noah's car in his driveway. So I'm not sure who you're describing. Noah let out a soft laugh when he saw that last line. Send, he asked. Send, I said, and hit it before I could second-guess myself. My phone rang before we even pulled out of the parking spot. Kara's name flashed on the screen like a threat. I didn't answer. Noah glanced at me. You okay? I nodded, but my stomach was already twisting because I knew what came next. Kara's outrage at being held accountable. Not at her behavior, and my reaction to it. The next morning, she texted me a long paragraph that started with, Wow, I was just trying to protect you, which made no sense because she wasn't protecting me. She was trying to protect Noah from me, as if I'm a hazard label. She wrote that I was so sensitive, that men get scared off by girls who act intense, and that I should be grateful she was looking out for me because someone has to be honest. Then, like a cherry on top of her own cruelty, she added, No wonder you're still single half the time. I stared at the text and felt that familiar urge to defend myself, to explain every detail like I was presenting evidence in a court. But then I thought about how she'd messaged Noah without asking me, how she'd framed me as some stereotype, and how she'd done it with the confidence of someone who never expects consequences. So I replied, Do not contact people I'm dating again. If you do, I will block you. She sent back, Are you threatening me? I didn't respond. The thing about boundaries is that people who benefit from you having none will act like you're attacking them when you get one. Over the next week, Kara tried to recruit the family. She called my mom crying, saying I was being mean and overreacting and choosing a guy over family. My mom called me with that tired, pleading voice she uses when she wants peace more than justice. Sweetheart, she said, Kara was just trying to help. I felt something in me go very still. Mom, I said, she messaged my date to insult me. That's not help. She said she was warning him. My mom said, like that made it better. Yes, I said. She was warning him that I'm high maintenance, even though I paid for dinner and I literally fixed his car. She lied about me. That's what happened. My mom sighed, and I could practically hear her choosing the path of least resistance. Well, maybe you could just talk to her and clear the air. I did, I said. She doubled down. Then my dad got involved, which was rare because my dad likes to pretend family conflict is whether unpleasant but unavoidable. He texted me, Don't start drama with your sister, which made me laugh out loud in my kitchen because I wasn't the one sliding into strangers' DMs like a saboteur. Noah, meanwhile, stayed steady. He didn't make jokes about it beyond that first laugh. He didn't tell me to ignore it. He just asked, What do you want to do? Like my choices mattered. A few days later, he came over to my place for dinner. I cooked simple stuff, nothing fancy. He offered to help chop vegetables. My dog immediately decided Noah was the best man alive and glued himself to Noah's legs. In the middle of eating, Noah looked at me and said, carefully, Do you want to keep seeing me? Like he was asking with full awareness of the chaos around it. I swallowed a bite and nodded. Yeah, I said. Eat dough. He smiled, relieved. Okay, he said. Me too. Then he hesitated and added, but I don't want your sister to be a thing we're always dealing with. I don't either, I said. That was the moment I realized how much I'd normalized Kara's behavior. I'd spent my whole life bracing for her, editing myself so she wouldn't twist my words, keeping my happiness quiet so she wouldn't smear it. And here was this man, brand new to my world, looking at the situation like it was obviously unacceptable. Like I didn't have to tolerate it, just because I'd always had. The confrontation happened at my parents' house the following Sunday. I went because I'd promised my mom I would, and because part of me wanted to see Kara's face when she had to exist in the same space as the consequences of her own actions. Noah didn't come. I didn't want to drag him into a family showdown like he was some prop. I drove alone, palms sweating on the steering wheel, rehearsing lines in my head like I was preparing for trial. Kara was already there, sitting at the table like she owned it, stirring her coffee dramatically. She barely looked at me when I walked in, which was her favorite move. Pretend you're not worth attention until you beg for it. My mom busied herself in the kitchen, clattering dishes too loudly. My dad stared at the TV, even though it wasn't on. The tension sat in the room like thick dust. I didn't wait for it to become a bigger performance. I set my keys on the counter and said, Kara, why did you message Noah? She blinked slowly, like she was surprised I'd be direct. I already told you, she said, voice syrupy. I was trying to help. How? I asked. Is insulting me to someone I'm dating helping? She rolled her eyes. I didn't insult you. I warned him. You call me high maintenance, I said. She shrugged. Because you are. My mom made a small noise like she wanted to interrupt, but I held up a hand without looking at her. Explain, I said to Kara. Give me one example. Kara's eyes narrowed. She hates being asked for specifics because specifics require truth. You always have expectations, she said. You always want everything perfect. You judge people. I felt my jaw clench. That's not an example. She leaned back, crossing her arms. See? This is what I mean. You're doing it right now. I took a breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Kara, I said, Noah's car didn't start on our date. I fixed it in his driveway. I paid for dinner. I didn't complain. I didn't demand anything. So what are you actually talking about? For a second, Kara's face flickered. Annoyance, embarrassment, something sharp. Then she laughed, dismissive. Okay, so you're trying to be the cool girl now. I'm not trying to be anything, I said. I'm just telling you that you lied. My dad finally turned from the TV, eyes tired. Why are we doing this? He muttered. Because she messaged my date, I said, louder than I meant to. And everyone is acting like that's normal. My mom stepped in then, voice pleading. Let's all just calm down. Kara looked at my mom and did this small, theatrical sigh, like she was the one being attacked. I just think it's funny, she said. She acts like she's low maintenance, but she's not. She's picky. She's difficult. Picky about what? I asked. Not wanting to date men who treat me badly. Kara's cheeks reddened. You always think you're better. There it was. The real thing. Not high maintenance. Not helping. That old accusation. You think you're better. As if my refusal to accept scraps was an insult to her willingness to live on them. I felt something in my chest go cold and clear. I don't think I'm better, I said quietly. I think I'm responsible for my own life. And I think you hate that because it makes your excuses look thin. Kara's eyes flashed. Wow, she said, voice sharp. So now you're attacking me. I'm not attacking you, I said. I'm telling you to stop. Mama looked like she might cry. My dad rubbed his forehead. Kara stared at me like she couldn't believe I'd said it out loud in front of them. I kept going because once you start telling the truth, it's hard to shove it back in your mouth. You don't get to sabotage my relationships and then call it love, I said. If you ever contact someone I'm dating again, I will block you. And I will tell them exactly who you are and what you're doing. Karaskofut. You think he'll stick around once he sees how dramatic you are? I didn't flinch. He already saw, I said. He saw your message. And he laughed. That landed. Kara's face tightened, like she could feel the humiliation but didn't know where to put it. He laughed? She repeated. Yes, I said. Because your story doesn't match reality. The room went quiet. My mom's hands were trembling around a dish towel. My dad stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time, not as the easy child, but as the one who was finally done being easy. Kara stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "Whatever," she snapped, and stormed toward the hallway like a teenager. Halfway there, she turned back and said, "Don't come crying to me when he leaves." Then she slammed the bathroom door. My mom exhaled shakily. "You didn't have to be so harsh," she said. I looked at her, and I felt this heavy sadness because my mom genuinely believes harsh means direct. "Mom," I said she was harsh. "I'm just not absorbing it anymore." My dad finally spoke, quiet. "She shouldn't have messaged him," he admitted, like it hurt to say. "Thank you," I said, and I meant it more than he probably understood. I left shortly after because staying felt like volunteering to be the family's emotional sandbag. In the car, my hand was shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline and grief, and the weird relief of finally saying what I'd always swallowed. When I got home, Noah was sitting on my couch with my dog's head in his lap, watching some terrible reality show like he belonged there. He looked up and immediately read my face. "Bad?" he asked. I sat down beside him, and the couch cushion dipped, and my dog sighed like he was content. "Bad," I said, "but also necessary." Noah put his arm around my shoulders, simple and steady. "Do you want to talk about it?" I nodded and told him everything. How Kara framed me, how my parents tried to smooth it over, how exhausting it was to be cast as difficult for not tolerating sabotage. Noah listened without interrupting, just rubbing my shoulder in slow circles. When I finished, he said, "Your sister's definition of high maintenance seems to be has standards and doesn't let people walk all over her." I let out this tired laugh. "Yeah," I said, "pretty much." He hesitated, then said, "Do you want me to block her?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say yes, immediately, to erase her access to my life. But another part of me wanted the boundary to be mine, not something Noah did for me. "I want her to know she doesn't get to reach into my life anymore," I said. "If she messages you again, you can block her. But I want her to sit with the fact that I'm not begging for her approval." Noah nodded. "Okay," he said, "I'm on your team." The funny thing is, after that, Kara didn't stop. She just changed tactics. She started posting vague stuff on social media about fake people and women who act independent but secretly want a man to fund them, which was so specific it was basically a name tag. She made sure her cousins saw it. She texted my mom dramatic lines like, "I guess I'm the villain now." She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to run back into the old role where I chase her and reassure her and smooth the story so she can keep doing what she does. I didn't. I muted her. I stopped engaging. When family members asked what happened, I told them plainly. Kara messaged Noah to warn him I'm high maintenance. It was inappropriate. I told her to stop. Some people looked uncomfortable because discomfort is what happens when you say the quiet part out loud. Some people try to laugh it off. I didn't laugh. A month later, Kara tried again in a way that was almost impressive in its audacity. Noah and I were at a small get-together at Talia's place. Kara wasn't invited, but she saw a story someone posted. She found Noah's profile and sent him another message, this time more subtle. "Hey, just checking in. Hope she's treating you okay. She can be intense. If you ever need to talk." Noah showed me immediately, eyes wide like, "Are you seeing this?" I stared at the message, then felt this wave of calm wash over me, because at that point it was almost predictable. Noah typed, "Please stop contacting me. This is inappropriate." Then he blocked her. Kara called me 10 minutes later, sobbing like someone died. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail that started with, "I can't believe you turned him against me," which made me laugh in my kitchen because she still couldn't understand the concept of consequences. You can't turn someone against you when you did the thing they're reacting to. My mom called after that, upset. "She's really hurt," she said. "I'm really tired," I replied. There was a long pause, and my mom's voice softened. I want you two to be close." "I want that too," I said, and the truth of it made my eyes sting. But closeness doesn't mean letting her sabotage me and then calling it love. My mom didn't have a good answer for that. She never does. Now, a few months in, Noah and I are still together. It's not perfect because nothing is, but it's steady in a way that makes my nervous system unclench. He asked me how my day was. He doesn't act weird when I talk about money. He doesn't need to feel bigger by making me smaller. The other day, his car made a weird noise again, and he joked, "My personal mechanic is going to dump me." And I said, "Only if you keep ignoring your check engine light." And he laughed and kissed my forehead. Normal. Calm. The kind of love that doesn't require me to shrink. Kara, meanwhile, has been forced to sit in the space where I used to fill the gap. She still tries sometimes. Little jabs at family gatherings, snide comments like, "Must be nice to have no responsibilities," when I talk about work, as if working 2 jobs for years to build stability wasn't responsibility. I don't bite. I don't defend. I just say, "What do you mean by that?" And watch her stumble because she can't stand having her words examined under light. And the thing I didn't expect is that some people in my family have started to see it. My dad has become quieter around Kara, like he's noticing the way she rewrites reality. My mom still wants peace, but she's stopped asking me to apologize just to keep the family together. She hasn't apologized for that, but she's shifted, which in our family counts as growth. The word high maintenance doesn't sting the way it used to, because I finally understand what Kara meant by it. She meant she can't be controlled. She won't accept scraps. She's not going to be the easy one, so I can stay the complicated one. If that's high maintenance, fine. But here's what still makes me shake my head when I think about that night in Noah's car. Kara tried to warn him like I was some expensive hobby. Like I'd drain him. Like I was a burden disguised as a woman. And the reality was the opposite. I paid for dinner because I could. I fixed his car because I knew how. I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because I'm the kind of person who shows up and handles what's in front of me. Noah laughed because the lie didn't fit. And I think that's the part Kara couldn't stand. Not that I was dating. Not that I was happy. That someone outside our family saw me clearly without her filter on the lens. That someone heard her warning and didn't flinch, didn't buy it, didn't treat me like a problem to manage. He just looked at me and said, "High maintenance? You literally paid for dinner and fixed my car," like it was the simplest truth in the world. And for the first time, I let it be.